Hi, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Roseanne. I'm Dr. Roseanne, and I'm here because I wanted to just do a little impromptu chat about something that I talk about every day, but it was such a poignant conversation, and it's a time in the world where we need help. But how meds damage kids' brains. And this all started because somebody I care about, who is just a friend, had a conversation with me yesterday and wanted to know what I thought about them putting their child on ADD medication, a young child, actually. And I had just shared some super exciting news about being in a documentary about natural solutions for mental health. And lo and behold, they shared with me that they had just put their child on ADD medication. And I quickly said, "You are damaging your child's brain," which they didn't like. But as I then replied, "But you asked me what I thought." And so I'm going to talk about medication, medicational alternatives, and this mental health crisis we're all facing, and how really important that parents know there are options. Okay. And as I always say about psychiatric medication, it should never, ever be the first line of defense. Always, we should go to natural solutions. We should go to science, and we should support children's brains in ways that we know that work. And medication, ADD medication, 100% of the time has a toxic side effect. Let's say that again. 100% of the time has a toxic side effect. And the top three are restricted eating, irritability, and sleep problems. And, not sleeping and not eating is going to create additional problems over time. So let's talk about that. But what I want to say is that there's going to be research. I'm going to drop it after this live so that you have it, because I have lots of research. I have lots of blogs, and go to drroseanne.com and you can go to blogs. But when I asked, "Why would you do that? You know what I do. If you listen to my podcast, did you listen to Gail's episode about, what did I say to the teacher when she told me to medicate?" No, it wasn't a 4-letter word. She was like, "No." And she Googled and she found an alternative, and her child is doing amazing and didn't have ADHD, had some slowed processing, which we were able to correct with neurofeedback. But they felt so hopeless. And I said, "Listen, I don't want you to feel bad. I want you to know the facts." And when they first really kind of felt so uncomfortable, of course they felt uncomfortable. I said, "It's going to damage your child's brain." Well, that's what psychiatric medication can do. And absolutely, we make people think that medication for ADHD is safe, but it's not. And they're all alternatives for all ages, and we need to lean into that, right? And that's what this conversation is about. That's what my next webinar is going to be on May 16th. And you can go to drroseanne.com/webinar. But this is really about that moment where you have to make a choice for your child. And if you don't know me, I am a special needs mom times two. And there's been many times where you're like, "What's this behavior? What is going on?" And so when I asked this person, "Why did you make that decision?" They said, "I had no choice because the teacher said things were so bad." Okay. When we unpack that, that wasn't necessarily true, but that doesn't matter. What matters is this is what happens in the real world, right? This is what happens. You're in this moment and you're so concerned about academics. Yes, they are important. But, somebody posted something today in one of my, comments, and it was so poignant for me because, I talked, there was a conversation about where is the right educational setting for neurodivergent minds. And I have two neurodivergent kids. And, I don't know what that answer is, and it's unique, but they had said, is it that the neurodivergent mind is being penalized because they're so creative? And I think there's some real truth to that. I see it all the time. But I think that many parents ultimately feel that if they get those good grades, that is the answer. And so medication trumps caring about emotional regulation, caring about, their child's creativity. Because if we think that if they're getting those grades, everything's okay. But medication, all psychiatric medication has toxic side effects. It doesn't mean that it can never be used, but why are we handing it out first? Why is it in the case of this parent, they said to me, why didn't my neurologist talk to me about diet? Why didn't my neurologist talk to me about things like neurofeedback or PMF or exercise or all these other things? And, knowing this person so well, I gave the real answer and I didn't sugarcoat it. They don't know. They don't have the training. You have to want to get trained. I didn't get trained in these things in my education, in my graduate education. I went to the research to find out what actually works. And then I dug in and said, this is what I'm going to teach people about. So if you're somebody who loves and cares about anybody who's struggling, maybe it is a ADHD, maybe it is anxiety, maybe it is depression, but psychiatric medications come with a long list of side effects. That's what that little insert is when you pick up your medication. You should really read it. And before we make lasting permanent damage to brains, yes, some of these things can cause permanent damage. I've had people with psychosis. I've had people with tics. I've had people with all kinds of things that are lasting. I also have majority of people, it is mild side effects, but mild side effects like restrictive eating and sleep problems have a compounded effect over time. They damage the gut brain axis. The brain can't detoxify when you're not sleeping. You're not getting nutrients. You're not going to power up your system. So what are we doing? So let's put the right information out there. Let's give the right solutions. Let's teach parents about what they can do at home to support behavior, because we don't have a license to parent. And so parents need to know. And that's what all my work is about. You can go to um, my website, you can listen to the podcast. I want people to feel like, wow, you're telling me that you're damaging my kid's brain. Yeah, I am. But I also want you to know there are solutions, and we need to share that information because we are going to have more neurodivergence. This is not a bad thing. This is a thing that we need to teach our kids how to celebrate their brains, but we also need to teach parents on how to parent differently, because we only learn how to parent from our parents, and every generation changes. And you may have had the best parents in the world, but we have new challenges. And if you are looking for more support on exactly what to do, I'm doing a webinar. You can go to drroseanne.com/webinar. And I'm doing an awesome webinar about neurofeedback and how it helps the brain. And I'm inspired by my friend who got angry with me, but heard me and promised that they would read the research that I had given them and would educate themselves, and also promised to educate their neurologist about it. But love to hear your opinions. If you have questions, you have comments, you have things. Yep. And somebody wrote, not everybody understands when it comes to mental health, medication should be a last resort. Thank you for saying that. And I think my biggest takeaway for all parents is you do have the power. You do have so much more control in a positive way, even when you feel hopeless and overwhelmed. There's a lot of choices. So I hope you join us for this webinar. And wherever you are in your path is exactly where you need to be. You just need to take the step in the right direction. And I look forward to your comments. Please let me know that this resonated with you, or if you have questions, just drop them.